there, fellow gigglers! Welcome back to Oops&Giggles, the podcast where we laugh at life's quirks and uncover the curious stories behind them. Today, we're diving into the world of silly superstitions and myths. These beliefs might sound bizarre, but they've been around for centuries. From avoiding broken mirrors to knocking on wood, superstitions are more than just quirky habits. They're a window into our history, culture, and let's be honest, our tendency to be a little gullible. Let's explore the oops moments and giggle-worthy origins of some of these odd rituals. Let's go! So let's kick things off with the superstition that breaking a mirror brings 7 years of bad luck. Where does this come from? Turns out, the belief dates back to ancient Rome. Mirrors were considered more than just a reflection of your face. They were thought to reflect your soul. Breaking one wasn't just clumsy, it was spiritually damaging. The 7 years? That's tied to the Roman idea that the soul renews itself every 7 years. Now let's reflect on this. Pun intended. Have you ever broken a mirror and immediately thought, uh-oh, my week's about to get worse? Honestly, it's probably the cleanup that's the real bad luck. And in today's world, with shatterproof mirrors and home insurance, this one feels like a relic of the past. But still, I can't help but tread carefully around mirrors just in case. I also wanted to bring a little bit more logic to this subject and talk about some for and against. So for the superstition, the belief that mirrors reflect the soul adds a mystical dimension. In many cultures, breaking a mirror is thought to disturb one's soul harmony, explaining why people tread cautiously around this superstition. Ancient Roman and later Victorian customs emphasized avoiding unnecessary spiritual risks. In a way, these beliefs reflect a human desire to safeguard their metaphysical well-being. Now let's talk about against the superstition. Science and practicality tell us there is no direct connection between shattered glass and bad luck. Breaking a mirror might ruin your day due to inconvenience, but the idea of prolonged misfortune is clearly an exaggeration. The 7 years element is arbitrary and likely stem from numerological traditions rather than any real evidence. At the end, while this superstition may have been grounded in culture and spiritual context, it's a good reminder of how historical fears evolve into playful habits. Alright, so it's up to you whether believe it or not. It's just that if you don't believe it, you'll get more luck. So I think it's a win-win. Just don't believe in that and then everything's gonna get much better probably. Okay, next up, black cats crossing your path. Black cats have had a tough reputation, haven't they? In medieval Europe, black cats were thought to be witches' familiars, magical creatures aiding their dark deeds. This association, combined with the fear of witchcraft, made black cats symbols of bad luck. Here's a twist though. In Japan and Scotland, black cats are seen as good omens. In Japan, they symbolize prosperity, and in Scotland, a black cat showing up at your doorstep means wealth is on its way. I don't know what happened there. Personally, I think black cats are sleek and beautiful, and I refuse to believe they're unlucky. I once crossed paths with a black cat on my way to a job interview, and guess what? I got the job. So maybe these furry friends are just misunderstood. So again, let's talk for and against. So the association with witches and dark magic highlights how folklore reflected societal fears of the unknown during the medieval period. Even today, some believe in signs of omens, and seeing a black cat can feel like an eerie coincidence during an already tense situation. Now let's talk against. Cultural differences show the bias in labeling black cats as unlucky. Japan and Scotland's positive views challenge the negative narrative, suggesting that these beliefs are subjective. Logical thinking dismisses the superstition as a product of fear and imagination, rather than any proven connection between black cats and misfortune. And I would agree with this. It's whatever you believe in will happen to you. I think, black cats are wonderful. So let's talk logic. The myth of black cats is a classic case of cultural storytelling influencing perception. These animals, like all others, carry no inherent good or bad luck. It's our contest that assigns meaning. So let's celebrate them for their beauty and individuality. Hey, hooray! Okay. Let's move on to knocking on wood. How many of you do this after saying something you don't want to jinx? This practice is thought to come from pagan beliefs in Europe. Trees, especially oak, were believed to house spirits. Knocking on wood was a way to call on these spirits for protection or to show gratitude. Over time, this evolved into the modern habit of just-in-case knocking. I have to admit I'm guilty of this one. It's harmless and gives me a little peace of mind, even though I know it's just a superstition, but hey, if it makes me feel better, why not? Okay, so again, let's talk for and against. The action of knocking on wood provides a tactile way to express hope or caution. It's like a symbolic handshake with fate. What's bad about that? Nothing. The practice's origins in paganism add an interesting layer of ancient spiritual beliefs to what is now a universal quirk. Okay, let's talk about against. There is no scientific evidence to suggest that knocking on wood alters outcomes. It's purely psychological, a comfort mechanism. Over-reliance on such habits might prevent people from taking actionable steps forward, influencing events themselves. Now let's talk logic. Knocking on wood is harmless fun, rooted in an old connection with nature and spirituality. While it's a charming ritual, the real luck comes from our actions and preparedness. Ta-da! All right, let's talk about walking under ladders. This is a big one. The origin? In Christian tradition, a ladder leaning against a wall forms a triangle, representing the Holy Trinity. Walking through it was seen as disrespectful and brought bad luck. In practical terms, though, it's just unsafe. Who wants a paint can on their head? But there is a fun, though. Maybe this superstition stuck around because it's easier to blame bad luck rather than our own clumsiness. I once walked under a ladder, tripped, and spilled my coffee. Was it bad luck or just bad timing? I mean, I'll let you decide. It's, to me, it's just, I guess bad timing. Now let's talk for and against. The triangular shape formed by a ladder against a wall and its ties to the Holy Trinity explain why this act was historically seen as taboo. Disrupting a sacred symbol could indeed feel ominous. From a practical standpoint, avoiding ladders is common sense. Accidents involving tools or failing objects can easily be mistaken for bad luck. Makes sense, right? Let's talk about against. Modern workplaces ensure ladders are secured, making the superstition largely irrelevant. Any bad luck is more about negligence than mystical forces. Superstitions like this one can make people overly cautious about benign actions, perpetuating unnecessary fear. This superstition has practical roots that are still valid today. Walking under a ladder isn't the safest choice, but let's call it smart risk management rather than superstition. Sometimes I feel like they created these reasons that we call superstition just for people to actually be smarter with themselves. Because sometimes, it's dangerous, it's not a good enough reason. Give me something more, give me a story. And then that's why they say, oh, hey, you know what? And that's why they come up with these cool stories. And they are cool. Okay, let's move on to the full moon effect. Full moons have been blamed for everything from strange behavior to werewolves. The term lunatic even comes from luna, the Latin word for moon. Historically, the bright, eerie glow of a full moon disrupted sleep patterns and inspired superstitions. While science largely debunks the idea that full moons cause madness, studies show people report feeling more restless during these lunar phase. I can actually relate. I feel very restless. So full moons are fascinating and maybe a little unsettling. I personally don't like marvel at their beauty. I don't fear moons, but I might avoid watching horror movies because I do feel restless. All right, so let's talk for the superstition. Historical beliefs about full moons disrupting sleep and increasing erratic behavior have anecdotal support. Emergency workers sometimes report busier nights during full moons. The moon's influence on tides sparks curiosity about whether it could similarly affect human behavior given our body's water content. Let's talk against. Scientific studies constantly debunk the idea that full moons cause strange behavior. Any perceived patterns are likely coincidences or confirmation bias. Restlessness during full moons could be more about their brightness disrupting sleep than any mystical power. I think at this point, it's really up to you. You decide whether full moon actually influences your health and mood, or it's maybe something else. All right, let's move on to the next one, umbrellas indoors. Opening an umbrella indoors is said to bring bad luck. This dates back to Victorian England when spring-loaded umbrellas were a new invention. Opening them indoors could damage delicate furniture or even hurt someone. Practical, not mystical. I can't relate to this one. I open umbrellas indoors occasionally, especially if it was raining and my umbrella needs to dry. So I really don't have anything to say. I guess it's not something my parents believed in. So that's why right now I have difficulties expressing my opinion. But I don't know if you guys watch Sarah and Carlo. They're like famous, content creators. They're a couple, and Carlo is from Italy and Sarah is from the US. And Carlo constantly warns Sarah not to open an umbrella indoors. I think it's quite cute, but it also made me thinking, hey, this, I've never heard of it. Yeah, so let's talk 4. In Victorian times, spring-loaded umbrellas were dangerous indoors. They could easily harm people or damage delicate furniture, leading to a practical basis for this superstition. Symbolically, umbrellas indoors may have been seen as defying the natural order, which could invite bad luck. Okay. Against. The superstition has no mystical backing. There is no correlation between opening an umbrella indoors and misfortune. The fear seems outdated in modern homes where umbrellas are sturdier and less likely to cause accidents. I agree with this one, actually. So again, whether to open an umbrella at home or not, totally up to you. If you believe in this one, nothing wrong about that. Nobody's judging. This is a podcast where nobody judges. Ta-da! Okay, let's talk about the next one. Eating grapes at midnight. Ooh. Here is a fun one. In Spain, eating 12 grapes at midnight on New Year's Eve is said to bring good luck for each month of the year. I think it's a tradition, but yeah, it is a superstition. But it's a fun tradition. I actually like it. I tried it once. So this tradition began in the late 1800s when grape farmers had a surplus and turned it into a festive custom. And like I mentioned before, I tried this once, and let me tell you, it's harder than it looks. If you don't chew quickly, you end up with a mouthful of grapes and a lot of laughter. But yeah, also be careful because it can be dangerous. So yeah, it's a great way to welcome the new year, even if you're more focused on not choking rather than making wishes. Oh yeah, you're supposed to make one wish for each grape. Oh, this is so cool. All right, so eating grapes at midnight. Let's talk 4. So the Spanish tradition is a charming and festive way to start the new year. Its origins in the 19th century reflect ingenuity. Grape growers turned a surplus into a cultural ritual. The act of eating 12 grapes for good luck could foster positivity and hope for the coming year, aligning with psychological benefits of rituals. Okay, let's speak against. Chewing 12 grapes in 12 seconds is impractical and can feel more stressful than celebratory. Luck isn't influenced by eating habits, so the ritual is purely symbolic, of course. While it's not about luck, participating in such traditions brings joy and strengthens cultural connections which are valuable in their own right. I enjoy the fun of it, even if it's purely symbolic. Plus, it's an excellent excuse to snack on grapes, I guess. All right. Friday the 13th. Woohoo! So, Friday the 13th is infamous for being unlucky. This superstition combines two fears: Fridays, associated with bad events in Christian tradition, and the number 13, often seen as imperfect compared to 12, a number of completeness in many cultures. But here's the thing. Friday the 13th has no real evidence of being unlucky. In fact, some people find it lucky. I like to use it as an excuse to watch cheesy horror movies and treat myself to something fun. What about you? Let's reclaim this day for good vibes. And that's when audience goes, yay! All right, the number 13, let's pick 4. The number 13 has been considered unlucky in Western cultures since the Middle Ages. The combination of Friday, historically a day associated with bad events like the crucifixion in Christian belief, and 13 amplifies the superstition. Pop culture, including horror movies, reinforces the idea of Friday the 13th as ominous. Okay, let's talk against. In some cultures, 13 is a lucky number. For example, in Italy, 13 is often associated with prosperity. Historical analysis shows no consistent evidence of increased accidents or disasters on Friday the 13th. So this superstition is rooted in cultural fears rather than factual data. This persistence is more a product of storytelling than reality. I think it's time to reclaim this day as fun and quirky rather than unlucky. A good movie marathon sounds like the perfect way to celebrate. And also, Friday the 13th has been a day to buy stuff. So at this point, it actually changed its meaning completely. A lot of people are actually waiting for this day. The discounts are amazing. That's when everybody goes wild, I don't know, ballistic. I don't know, me at least. There are a lot of things in my shopping cart waiting for Friday 13th. All right, the next one. Spilling salt is unlucky. Because in ancient times, salt was precious and expensive. There you go. Wasting it was a big deal. Tossing it over your left shoulder to ward off bad luck is a later addition, probably as a way to lighten the mood after a mistake. I once tried this and accidentally hit someone behind me with salt. Oopsie. Maybe the bad luck is just the awkward conversation that follows. It seems like... Let's talk 4. Supporting the superstition. Historically, salt was precious and symbolic of purity and preservation. Spilling it could be seen as wasteful or disrespectful, prompting a ritual to counteract the perceived bad luck. The gesture of tossing it over the left shoulder is meant to blind the devil lurking behind you, a vivid image that likely made the superstition memorable. Not bad, actually, not bad at all. Let's talk against. In modern times, salt is inexpensive and widely available, making the superstition feel unnecessary. Well, duh. The belief doesn't align with logical cause and effect thinking. Spilling salt is just an accident. Quite unpleasant, actually. It's really difficult to clean up salt. All right, so the origins make sense in a historical context, but the superstition has little relevance today. This is a fun, harmless habit, but I'll save my salt tossing for seasoning food, actually. Or not, I don't know. Okay, at last is wishing on a star, a very romantic one. This tradition dates back to ancient Greece, where people believed stars were the gods' way of listening to earthly wishes. It's a sweet, hopeful ritual. I still do it sometimes because why not? Even if the wish doesn't come true, it's a moment of positivity. Have you ever wished on a star and had something amazing happen? Share your stories, guys. Comment down below. So let's talk 4. Wishing on stars has ancient roots. The Greeks believed stars were connected to gods and fate, making them an appropriate focus for wishes. The act of making a wish fosters hope and encourages people to articulate their dreams, which can be motivating. This all sounds so beautiful. Let's talk about against. Scientifically, stars are celestial objects, not agents of change in human lives. Focusing on wishing rather than acting might discourage practical efforts to achieve goals. Let's think logically. While stars can't grant wishes, the ritual can provide emotional comfort and sense of direction. I personally embrace the magic of this tradition. It's a moment of positivity and reflection, even if the stars aren't listening. Yes, that's right. Alright, that's it for today's episode of Oops&Giggles. Superstitions may not hold up to science, but they're part of what makes life interesting. Which ones do you secretly follow and why? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and always find reasons to giggle. To giggle. Bye!
Oh yeah!